On Monday, sensing a political advantage after Donald Trump decided it was a wonderful idea to smear a Gold Star family, sneered at Republicans for failing to sufficiently disown Donald Trump. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, one of the scummiest politicians on the planet, targeted Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. He said, quote, "Senator McConnell and Speaker Ryan approvingly spoke at Donald Trump's convention, endorsed Donald Trump for president, and believe he is mentally fit to sit in the Oval Office. Occasional statements that do nothing to repudiate Donald Trump's words and actions are spineless. Anything short of revoking their endorsements is cowardice. This shouldn't be hard. Donald Trump is a sexist and racist man who insults Gold Star parents, stokes fear of Muslims, and sows hatred of Latinos. He should not be president, and Republican leaders have a moral responsibility to say so." That was Harry Reid, the most immoral man in the Senate. Leftist Greg Sargent of the Washington Post wrote a similar piece, making a similar argument. He wrote, "As some Republicans are already remarking, Trump's battle with the Khan family makes it harder and harder to avoid the acknowledging the possibility that we really have no idea how low Trump will sink." It's kind of true, but there is one problem. Democrats don't get to preen about the moral shortcomings of Donald Trump and Republican cowardice for supporting him. They're cheering wildly for Hillary Clinton. Here are 3 reasons why. First, Hillary is worse than Trump as a human. Over the weekend, one major political candidate earned a 4 Pinocchio rating from the Washington Post. That same candidate slated Gold Star families as liars. That candidate was, of course, Hillary Clinton, who appeared on national TV to explain that FBI Director James Comey had fully cleared her. He'd even said she was honest. This, of course, was a lie. Then Hillary went on to claim that Benghazi Gold Star families must have misremembered her comments to them about a YouTube video being responsible for their kid's death. Hillary can complain all she wants about Trump's connections with Putin, but she's the one who handed Putin a reset button, then cut a nuclear deal that allowed the Russians into our uranium mines. For every Trump sin, there's one just as bad in Hillary's closet, and usually worse, since she was working for the government at the time. Second reason, Trump is our black swans. Here's the thing. You guys wanted Hillary. Donald Trump, as everybody knows, was a once-in-a-century aberration. Republicans never expected him to do well, let alone win the nomination. As soon as it became clear Trump would have a serious shot at the nomination, a lot of Republicans announced they would never back him. Like me. Today, many Republicans who will back him do so out of a simple moral calculus that he's better than Hillary, not because they like him. The same is not true for Hillary. Not only do Democrats want Hillary to be president, the DNC worked arduously to deny Sanders the nomination. The media have played fast and loose with Hillary, denying her evils, pushing her all the way to her historic nomination. Before you start gloating about Republican moral failings, take a look in the mirror. You begged for Hillary. Most Republicans try to stop Trump. Final reason. You guys are still backing Hillary. There are lots of Republicans who aren't planning to vote for Trump, including me. Even the ones who will are out condemning Trump over the Gold Star family thing. Where exactly are the Democrats condemning Hillary's corruption? Where's the Never Hillary movement from the left? Why do leftists get to claim moral superiority for ardently supporting a worse candidate? In a normal world, they wouldn't. But they can, because the media have been propping up a cackling, corrupt old crone for 2 decades, and they're not going to stop now. So no, Democrats have no moral superiority for backing Hillary. They just have, as always, their own perceived and unearned moral superiority. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show.
Tend to demonize people who don't care about your feelings.
Okay, so first I want to start off by thanking one of our sponsors, Harry's. Harry's Razors. They do a really good job. So Harry's is a fantastic company. You basically order with them and become part of what's basically a shaving club, and their product is really great. I mean, I use the product under my chin. The way it works in Jewish law is you don't shave with a straight edge on your face. You can shave under your jawline with a straight edge, which is of course the hardest part to shave, and Harry's really does the trick. Their products are fantastic. Harry's right now has a starter set called the Truman, and it's a great option for new customers. This is what they sent me, and I love it. I've been using it, you know, every day except this one when I didn't shave because I was too lazy. But for 15 bucks, you get this razor handle and a moisturizing shave cream and 3 of Harry's 5-bladed German-engineered razors. Plus, if you're a fan of the show, you get a special offer. You go to harrys.com, you type in promo code Shapiro, you get $5 off of that. So 15 bucks for that, you get $5 off, so it's 10 bucks for you. So if you go to harrys.com with promo code Ben, then you get $5 off. You also help support our show, obviously. You support our advertisers, you support the show. You make sure that the minions who run the teleprompter and who run the cameras don't go hungry tonight. Don't let the children go hungry, gang. Go over to harrys.com. We do use children. We use child labor. Go over to harrys.com, promo code Ben, and the razors are cheaper, they are better, they're superior in every way, and I can tell you that because I've used multiple razors, and this is the best razor that I've ever used for the under the jawline area for me. So harrys.com, promo code Ben. All right, so we have a lot to get to today here on the Ben Shapiro Show. Glenn Beck is going to be joining us momentarily. Do we have Glenn on the line at this point? Okay, perfect. So Glenn is joining us right now. Glenn Beck, of course, the iconic talk show host, the iconic leader in the conservative movement. And Glenn has a brand new book out called Liars. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, man.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it. You have this brand new book called Liars, and the basic premise, the subtitle is How Progressives Exploit Our Fears for Power and Control. Essentially, your thesis is that the left is trying to construct utopia, or at least they claim they are, and that's a pretty good pitch for power. How do you see that playing out in this year's election?
Yeah, I don't, my premise is different than what you just laid out. It's not the left, it's the right and the left. It's the entire progressive movement, which we know, was started by the Republican Theodore Roosevelt. So it's both of them, and you can see this. You can see this happening right now. The best example is the DNC convention. With the DNC convention, you saw them say one thing. All of the politicians were talking Marxist.
So his heart was broken by...
Keep up, will you? Shadar, innit? If anyone tries to stand up to him or does anything he doesn't like, he breaks their... What's that?
Oh dear.
What's that?
Watch this! Watch this! Go! 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 Yeah! Huh? 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 Let's go! Huh? Come on!
Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum.
Mr. Drippy! Wait for me!
Who goes there?
Jeepers.
Ollie boy, meet old Father Oak. How do, you a leafiness?
Oh, Drippy, it's you.
What's this?
That's tidy work, Ollie boy. Look at that. A warrior from your very own heart. A familiar.
This isn't familiar?
That's right. The fighting spirit inside you made flesh. A soldier of your soul.
And he can really help me fight? Huh? Ouch! That was a mean trick.
And the stronger you get, the harder he's gonna hit as well.
Wow. Oh.
willing for a fight, is it? Better give him what he wants, Ollie boy.
Huh? But what do I do?
Just think what you want him to do and he'll do it. It's as easy as falling off a log, man.
Okay. Just think what I want him to do. Here goes. Come on! Here goes! Here goes! Watch this! Here goes!
You did well to calm the Guardian.
like nobody's business. And yet, the interstitials and all the presentation was warm and fuzzy and let us embrace you. And we're just like you. So they're using, they let Trump use the fear, then they made their audience fearful of Trump, but then embraced and took all of the trappings of traditional America. They took the Constitution, they took de Tocqueville from us, they took we're better than this kind of language, and they wrapped it in hope. And that's how it works. You have the fear. Progressives usually create the problem, which creates fear. Then they give you the hope of, we'll protect you from that. And I really think, I think this is the best example of how progressives work, and I think it was the best convention, best packaged convention I've ever seen in my lifetime.
It really was a well-packaged convention, and it's easy to sell that lie because everybody is sort of looking for a savior. It's the ugly truth that no one wants to realize is that as religion disappears in the country, people are looking for a new religion to fill that space, and what better religion than the government?
Yeah, and that is, it's fascinating. Most people don't know that progressivism, they believed in communism and they believed in fascism. The right generally believed in fascism and the left believed in communism, but they didn't want the revolution. So they thought, let's just progress to that utopia. They're still doing that. And somehow or another, a few of us have been convinced that Americans still understand what self-rule even means, what independence means, what pulling yourself up by being somebody who is self-determined. I don't think the average person knows that. I make the case that we're in America 2.0, that the founding fathers don't really play any part in what we're doing right now. It's the founding fathers of Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Margaret Sanger, FDR, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama.
It's very scary stuff. The book is called Liars, and Glenn Beck, of course, is on the show. And Glenn, how did it happen that it was able to take over America so completely, so quickly? As you mentioned, it's now both parties. It was amazing to watch Donald Trump say, I alone can fix it, and then watch Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama both say, how could you possibly say I alone can fix it? And then follow up with, they alone can fix it. Basically, right. Everybody's pitch is now, they alone can fix it. They took this German progressive ideology, wrapped it in the flag, and repackaged it, and they're selling it to us. How was it able to be so successful? I mean, we traded away the freest country in the history of the world for this. Why?
If you look at it, everybody thinks it's happened so quickly. I contend, Ben, that we were fools in 2008, even 2000, when we thought, oh, well, everybody thinks like we do. We're all Americans. We all want basically the same thing. I think it's been lost for quite some time. It just hasn't had the push to be completely what it is now. We're seeing the fall away. Look at the Republicans that are falling away for Trump. I contend, if you look at his programs, much of them are socialist, and he's a nationalist. That's a frightening combination to put together. I don't think it's happened over a long period of time. I think the progressives were very, very smart at the very beginning and did the Council of Foreign Relations to bring academia and the media together to teach us stupid people what policies we should enact. And the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which was started by Woodrow Wilson, to bring the press into the fold with him yet again. And they've been patient and making progress a little piece at a time. I am a little ashamed of our side if we talk about doing any of the things that the progressives have done that are honorable, that are just saying, hey, let's make a long-term plan and let's start reverse progressivism. You can't get anybody on board. Nobody is interested in having a long-term plan. That's what killed us. They had a long-term plan. We didn't.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I mean, there's a crisis mentality that is adhered to the right, where it's every election is the most important election that ever happened in our lifetime. So we have to take the lesser of two evils instead of building an actual grassroots movement. But that sort of requires us to ask the next question, which is, how do you go about building a movement like that in a country that, for, as you say, for 100 years has had a public education system that rejects founding values, in a country where the media totally reject founding values and suggest that what makes America great is what government can do for us? I mean, you even see folks on the right, and when people will say about what's great about America, the folks on the right will immediately say, we put a man on the moon. That was a government program. What's great about America is the freedom that was created by the founders that allow us to thrive in our private lives.
Yeah, I think what's great about America is Elon Musk will put a man on Mars, but even that will be largely government funded, which is a problem. The way to look at this, I think, is, the way to get around it is first educating yourself on what it is and how it works, and to be able to see, Trump guys, you're doing exactly the same thing. You are in this book. This is what you're doing. So educating yourself, actually outlining some principles, which we didn't do. The Tea Party didn't have principles. The 9/12 Project had principles, but they turned that kind of into a political thing too. If it's just politics, you're just going to lose. Defining the principles and then taking over the media. That's a hard one, but you're doing it. I mean, I just spent about 20 minutes this morning reading the Daily Wire. We're trying to do it at The Blaze. What you're doing right now, what I'm doing online, same thing. We have to understand that the culture makes all the difference. And if you, and I know you're smart enough to know this, Ben, when I watch the DNC, you know, it's pretty easy when you can call up J.J. Abrams and say, hey, make a little 2-minute film to make me look good. We don't have those people on our side. You know, we call Scott Baio up. But we suck at storytelling. And that's all they do. They reach for the heart. Think about this. They stood on stage and said, have you even read the Constitution? And then followed it with a speech that is directly from the Communist Manifesto. No, you apparently haven't read it, but they knew that pulling out this and say, have you read it, would be such a heart moment that it didn't matter what they said after it.
Yep, man.
We need to start telling stories and start getting our act together, because we have the winning argument if we can also connect to the heart.
Amazing how good at it they are and how bad we are at it. And you're exactly right. I mean, when you talk to conservatives about culture, and you know this better than I do, Glenn, because you've actually tried to move into the movie making space. When you talk to conservatives about funding movies, it just right over their head, because it's more important that we fund the next Heritage Foundation white paper, and that's great. But it's more important that we fund we toss $10 million into Donald Trump's campaign, and he's going to lose by 10, than it would be to just take those $10 million, invest in a film that's going to be seen by tens of millions of people, because after all, this election is the only thing that matters. And when I watch entertainment, all I really want to watch is Ronald Reagan docupics, which of course is false.
I will tell you this, that I'm not sure that we can ever do this until we start understanding our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. If you read the book Liars, you will see how well thought out this was, how well orchestrated, that they had all of the real thought leaders and the real artistic leaders and business leaders all with them. And they said, this is our plan. Now, you do this, you do this, you do this. You bring up movies. You can't talk to anybody with big pockets on the right that will actually say, okay, I'm going to take a risk. It's all about the bottom line. When do I see a return? And movies are too scary. I don't know if we want to do a movie because we're going to lose a lot of money. Do you know how much money the left has lost? Do you know how much money they're just willing just to put down in case it works? We've got to start taking more risks and realizing your money is worthless if we don't have freedom.
Well, the first step toward obviously taking risk is getting to know what's on the other side. And Glenn Beck's book, Liars, How Progressives Exploit Our Fears for Power and Control. Fantastic book. It's out today. We're so flattered that Glenn can stop by and chat with us. And I can't recommend the book highly enough. So it's obviously your local bookstore, Amazon.com as well, correct?
Watch all the time, Ben. You're doing a phenomenal job. And many times we have conversations of why can't we be more like Ben Shapiro?
Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. And don't stand too close, because when Trump comes to take me away and put me in a cell, I mean, I'd love to have you as a cellmate, Glenn, but it's definitely a possibility at this point. So I would recommend at least a 300-foot distance.
No, my daughter, we were talking as my family, and they said just last night, Dad, what do you see happening if Hillary is? And I said, Hillary is Eva Peron. And what happens if Trump? And I said, Trump is Mussolini. And they said, what do we do? And I said, I don't know, because both of them end with your father in jail.
Exactly. Well, again, it'll be a very entertaining adult fun camp, shall we say, as Hillary might put it. So, Glenn, thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate the time. That is Glenn Beck. His new book is the book Liars, How Progressives Exploit Our Fears for Power and Control. Okay, so we have tons to talk about, obviously, beyond Glenn, where we want to talk about, we're going to do an epic episode of Good Trump, Bad Trump coming up in just a minute, but you have to go to dailywire.com for that. So if you want to subscribe to the show, you go to dailywire.com. You get the rest of the video podcast, $8 a month. You get my podcast, you get Andrew Klavan's podcast. Most importantly, you get to email us. So you get in the mailbag on Thursdays, which is, of course, the vaunted Ben Shapiro Show mailbag, the greatest mailbag that ever was. And we have lots more to talk about today. We didn't even get into all of the fun and games with Donald Trump, which is really, I have to say, nobody said that the end of the Republic was going to be this much fun. So I'm glad that at least we get to laugh hysterically as we walk down into our tomb as a country. So that's very exciting. DailyWire.com for the rest of the show, or iTunes and SoundCloud to download the audio version. Alrighty, so it's time to play Good Trump, Bad Trump. Yeah, everybody loves some Good Trump, Bad Trump. Okay, so we begin today, as always, with Good Trump. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump said something good today. So what did Donald Trump say that was good today? Well, he's getting ripped up and down in the media for saying something that really is not a big deal at all in any way. What he said was that Hillary was the devil. I'm confused as to why this is controversial. I mean, realistically speaking, Hillary's not the devil, because the devil would never be so obvious as to disguise himself as Hillary Clinton. But, you know, when Donald Trump says she's the devil, obviously it's a figure of speech. Here's Trump saying that and the media losing its mind.
His people are angry at him, and they should be. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil. It's true.
Okay, so he says that she made a deal with the devil. He made the deal with the devil. Sanders did. She's the devil. All right, big deal. So the media loses their mind over this. This is good, Trump, because honestly, a whole round of headlines about whether Hillary is the devil or not is not going to be particularly bad for Trump. That's a good round of headlines. Then Trump does something else that's good, right? More good Trump. Yay! Well done, 2 in a row. So here's Donald Trump talking about the media.
The biggest problem we have is we have a very dishonest media. We have a media that is so dishonest that no matter what, makes no difference. But these are among the most dishonest people you'll ever meet. These people, you know, I've had days where I said, boy, this was a great day. I look forward to seeing it tonight or tomorrow, and it's brutal. I say, what happened? But we're going to punch through the media. We have to.
Okay, so he's totally right about this, of course. The media is horrible. The media are out to get him, and the media are out to get conservatives generally. That's all true. Okay, so that's good Trump. Yay, good Trump. Okay, now, unfortunately, we get to bad Trump. So here, again, is my normal disclaimer. You want to vote for Trump, vote for Trump. That's fine. You know, I understand the logic. Trump's better than Hillary. Okay, that's your prerogative. That's your risk assessment. I get it. It's totally fine. How much you embarrass yourself to defend Trump is another question. Right? You can say I'm voting for him, even though he's really quite terrible. Okay, here's my rule. It's not picking on Trump to make fun of him. Okay, I make fun of everybody, as you've noticed from the show. And I got to admit, the dude is just hilarious. He's just hilarious. So now it's time, unfortunately, for bad Trump. So here it's time for some bad. Let's do some bad Trump. So Trump, there's a big story that comes out from the New York Times this morning. Okay, so this is the last 48 hours for Trump. Let me back up for a second. Last 48 hours for Trump, we played him yesterday attacking a fire marshal, right? He attacked the fire marshal because he says this corrupt, evil fire marshal didn't let enough people into his building, right? So he attacks the fire marshal. Then he says he's going to crack down on internet porn the same day that the New York Post runs lesbian nude photos of his wife, right? Okay, little weird. Probably gained 5 points in the straight male community in the United States because Melania is a good-looking chick, but let's be real, it's a weird juxtaposition. I will crack down on internet porn. Also, directly next to this article, if you move your eyes over 3 centimeters, is a picture of my nude wife with another nude lady. It's a little strange. Okay, so even that, not that big a deal. Weird, sure, but let's be real about this. The first spouses either way are pretty bad. And the first spouse for Hillary Clinton is a guy who's receiving particular favors and using cigars in unique ways in the Oval Office. And the first spouse on the Trump side is a lady who posed in pornography. So I think that we may be done with the days of the classy first spouse. But there's the funny, okay, so there's funny bad Trump, and then there's just Trump being terrible bad Trump. So let's start with the funny bad Trump because it's a lot more fun. So yesterday I tweeted out that Trump, because he feels the need to attack everybody, he attacked Ted Cruz again last night for no reason. because Trump feels the need to attack everybody, it's only a matter of time until he attacks a puppy, right? I said this on the show yesterday, that if the Hillary Clinton campaign trotted out a puppy on stage next to Trump wearing an I'm with her t-shirt, Donald Trump would punt the puppy into the third row. I said that jokingly. Today, here was Donald Trump at a rally yelling at babies. Yep, it's real.
Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So, I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. What a baby. What a beautiful baby. Don't worry. Don't worry. The mom's running around like, don't worry about it, you know? It's young and beautiful and healthy, and that's what we want. Okay. But look. China, when they devalue, ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. That's all right. Don't worry. I think she really believed me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking. That's okay. People don't understand. That's okay.
Was he dropped on his head as a child? I'm just wondering, like, what? So he loves babies, and then he starts talking again, and the baby doesn't stop crying. So then he says, oh, well, get that baby out of here. In the olden days, they would have taken that baby out on a stretcher. So it's very exciting stuff from Donald Trump. So there he is attacking a baby, which is weird. But don't worry, it gets weirder. Some person gave Donald Trump a Purple Heart, like a medal. And here was Donald Trump's response to receiving a Purple Heart.
A man came up to me, and he handed me his Purple Heart. Now, I said to him, is that like the real one, or is that a copy? And he said, that's my real Purple Heart. I have such confidence in you. And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier. But I tell you, it was such an honor, and maybe I can bring him up on the stage. Lieutenant Colonel Louis Dorfman. I just happened.
Oh, just like that he appeared. Okay, so... I love how every picture of Trump is him with the thumbs up. It's pretty spectacular. Okay, so the reason that's bad, Trump, is because this morning, the New York Times released a story about how Trump dodged the draft like 5 times. He got 5 different draft deferments, one because his ankles hurt. Okay, so when he says things like, I always wanted one of these, this was a lot easier. If you always wanted one, you get the Purple Heart for being wounded in a war. If you wanted one, I don't know why you'd want a Purple Heart. And even soldiers don't want Purple Hearts, right? Nobody wants the Purple Heart, because the Purple Heart is when you get wounded. No one wants to be wounded. But it's oh my God, what words are there? We're beyond the point of parody. Okay, and that wasn't the limit. This was my favorite. This is my favorite. These are all small, okay? So none of these are a big deal, but if we don't laugh, folks, we just have to cry. Because remember, on one side we have the most corrupt woman ever to run for high office. And on the other side, we have a guy who legitimately may have escaped the clown show at the asylum. Like the asylum, it's not even a regular clown show. It's not like with sane clowns putting on paint. It's like an actual clown show where they recruited from the asylum and forcibly painted the faces of the asylum inmates. So here's Donald Trump. This one's my favorite. This is Donald Trump. This is clip 5. This is Donald Trump talking with his good friend Sean Hannity, being coached through being a presidential candidate by Sean Hannity. Yeah, I used to take violin lessons as a really, really good violinist. And basically, whenever it's Trump and Hannity on TV, it's essentially Sean Hannity teaching a political lesson to Donald Trump. So he says, Donald, don't you think it would be great if you said this? And then Trump goes, yes, that would be great. So here is Donald Trump attacking the New York Times, and this, I'm sorry, it's small, folks. All of this is small, but you must laugh because, come on, it's hilarious. Come on.
But the New York Times is so unfair. I mean, they write 3-4 articles about me a day. No matter how good I do on something, they'll never write good. I mean, they don't write good. They have people over there like Maggie Haberman and others. They don't write good. They don't know how to write good. And I guess if they did, they're certainly not doing it. But the New York Times is just absolutely a disaster.
Let me ask one other.
They don't write good. Yeah, it's an interesting critique. They don't write good. The word is well. If you want to say they don't write good stuff, Then you should say they don't write good stuff. They don't write good. All right, so they're going to go to the Donald Trump Center for Kids who want to learn to read good and do other stuff good, too. Zoolander joke for those of you listening over the age of 40. Okay, so that's now to the serious bad Trump. So that's all just the goofy bad Trump, right? So it's goofy bad Trump, him just basically being adult, because that's what he is. He's your cloddish uncle who's got a couple of drinks in him, and he's just going to say what's ever on his mind, and it is really funny. I mean, it is. I have to admit, it's hysterical. And then there's like actual bad Trump. So Trump spoke to Kirsten Powers about sexual harassment. And he had said earlier on July 24th on NBC that some of the women who were complaining about being sexually harassed by Roger Ailes, Roger Ailes helped them, and when they write books and say wonderful things about him, now all of a sudden they're saying these horrible things about him. He spoke with Kirsten Powers about sexual harassment, and here's what he had to say.
During an interview, when asked what his daughter should do if she were sexually harassed at work, Donald Trump said he would like to think she would find another career or find another company. The question, specifically framed around the allegations against former Fox News chief Roger Ailes, came in an interview with USA Today. Trump defended Ailes.
So he says, in case you missed the robotic reading, what he actually said to Kirsten Powers is he said something to the effect of that women should actually just quit their jobs and then quit their industries. He said, I would like to think she would find another career. This is Ivanka. I would like to think she would find another career or find another company if she were sexually harassed. Okay, here is Eric Trump, his son, making the same case on CBS this morning.
In the workplace. There is no question. There is no question that obviously it should be addressed, and it should be addressed strongly. And hey, listen, we all run a company. My father runs a company. You know, we take this. That is a absolute no-go anywhere, and that's very much the case. I think what he's saying is, you know, Ivanka is a strong, you know, powerful woman. She wouldn't allow herself to be, you know, objected, you know, to it. And by the way, you should certainly take it up with human resources. And I think, you know, she definitely would as a strong person. At the same time, I don't think she would allow herself to be subjected to that. And I think that's the point he was making, and I think he did so well.
Okay, so she wouldn't allow herself to be subjected to that. First of all, women don't generally allow themselves to be subjected to sexual harassment. Okay, it's not their fault if they're sexually harassed, if some dude is a pig. That happens on a not infrequent basis. Beyond that, the line that women should just quit and find another job, okay, there's some truth to it, which is that if you're being sexually harassed, you really don't have a lot of other choices. But to pretend that when Roger Ailes, when a very powerful man sexually harasses a less powerful woman, that's a serious problem, and that's not a problem that can always be cured by going to human resources. Companies don't like it when their executives are sexually harassing people because they have to make major payouts. But if you're talking about a very powerful man, from Bill Clinton to Roger Ailes, if you're sexually harassed and you talk about it, you're done. Your career is over. You're finished. And if you go to HR, as we all know, I mean, anybody who's ever been in an office environment where there is human resources, if you go to HR, the first thing that happens is that the bosses start to marginalize you, and they see you as the problem. It doesn't matter what you're saying is true. HR is one of the more useless aspects of virtually any major company. Go to HR, and suddenly you're the problem. You're the red flag, because you're the one who complained. You're the one who's raising the issue. And then if you end up leaving the company, then word is around town that you're litigious and that you complain to HR. So it's a little bit harder than the Trumps are making it out to be. Now, Eric Trump isn't wrong that the solution is to go to HR if you're being sexually harassed, or grab a lawyer, and then you have whistleblower protections, or change companies. But to pretend that Ivanka Trump is in the same scenario as any of these other women who are being sexually harassed by one of the most powerful men in media, allegedly, that's really not particularly good stuff. And then it gets worse. Trump is now claiming, remember, what's the date today? August 2nd? It's August 2nd. Donald Trump is claiming on August 2nd that the election is going to be rigged. Here's Donald Trump talking to Sean Hannity about this.
I hope the Republicans get out there and watch very closely.
We're helping people
because I think we're going to win this election. But if it's rigged, like anything else, look, it was rigged, I thought, a little bit for me, and we won in landslides. I think it was rigged against Bernie Sanders with his super delegates nonsense.
Well, we know it was rigged.
The guy never had a chance.
Sorry.
And I'm telling you, November 8th, we better be careful, because that election's going to be rigged. And I hope the Republicans are watching closely, or it's going to be taken away from us.
Okay, it's going to be rigged. The election's going to be taken away from us. Here's the problem. When Trump said that the primary system was rigged, he was wrong, and I talked about it at the time. It wasn't rigged, it just wasn't a system that he liked. It felt rigged because there were caucus systems where it was unclear how people were actually getting voted into power. There wasn't a straight popular primary vote. When you're talking about the national election in the United States, when you're talking about the election across the country, and you say it's going to be rigged, now you're getting into leftist paranoia territory. Now you're getting into 2000. George W. Bush stole the election from Al Gore by purposely perverting the ballots and then having diebold machines that are related to Halliburton or some such nonsense. And this is the narrative that the Trump campaign is already starting to put out. So Roger Stone, who's legitimately one of the sleaziest people in the history of modern American politics, Roger Stone was speaking to Milo Yiannopoulos over at Breitbart, another sleazy person in the history of American politics. And Roger Stone says, I think we have widespread voter fraud, but the first thing Trump needs to do is begin talking about it constantly. He needs to say, for example, today would be a perfect example, I am leading in Florida. The polls all show it. If I lose Florida, we will know there's voter fraud. If there's voter fraud, this election will be illegitimate. The winner of the election will be illegitimate. We will have a constitutional crisis, widespread civil disobedience, and the government will no longer be the government. He said if you can't have an honest election, nothing else counts. I think he's got to put them on notice that their inauguration will be rhetorical, and when I mean civil disobedience, not violence, but it will be a bloodbath. The government will be shut down if they attempt to steal this and swear Hillary in. No, we will not stand for it. We will not stand for it.
I forgot to leave her a key so she can
So, in other words, Trump's got his confidants out there basically saying that if Trump loses, it must have been stolen from him. That's not unusual for Trump. This is Trumpian kind of language. Anytime he loses, it's somebody else's fault. But this is getting into dangerous territory now. If the implication is that Trump loses by 8 million votes, and that it was still stolen from him, well, if people think that the electoral system seriously doesn't work, then we can't have a republic anymore. We can't. If people think that you going out and voting, you're being cheated, your ballot's being thrown out, then you're going to have the same sort of unrest that you've seen in other places around the globe where people feel that their voice is not being heard and where the election isn't taking place, right? And then you get violence in the streets. And it's not going to be civil disobedience, it will get violent. If people feel like they're being jobbed and Hillary Clinton is being inserted through a corrupt process, things will get violent.
You don't fix an entire
The problem is, of course, that there's no evidence that any of that is happening. I mean, it's August 2nd. We haven't even heard rumors about any of that happening. What's going on is Trump's looking at the polls, and he's seeing the new polls today are not good for him. There's a new poll out today showing him down 8. He's losing in all the major swing states. The only state where he's still ahead is Florida. And Florida, the last poll was taken July 10th, so they haven't had a poll since the conventions.
She wants me to show her
right now, Trump is running 1 point behind in Utah. In Utah, most Republican state in America. He's running 36-35 to Hillary. Hillary's got 36. He's now running even in Georgia, 45 to 45. These are not good numbers for Trump. So he's beginning to figure, okay, how do I spin this? If I lose, how do I spin this? That's not where you want your candidate at, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on August 2nd, what you want your candidate doing is fighting as hard as he possibly can against Hillary Clinton, not prepping the groundwork for whining if he loses. I don't think that Trump really knows how to win or cares about winning. I think that for Trump, it's all about the narrative. And if the narrative is that he was cheated, he understands that his people will still continue to claim that he was screwed out of this, even if he really wasn't.
Good.
Now, meanwhile, this Khan family rollout continues to make headlines. As you recall, the Gold Star family.
It's incredible.
And we're talking a lot of Trump today because Trump's in the news. And again, not my fault Trump's in the news. We spent all last week talking about Hillary Clinton because Hillary was in the news. If Trump would shut his face for 5 seconds and not do silly things, then we could talk about Hillary and her terrible evil corruption. Right now, Trump is the story. And we gotta follow the story, as much as that story may make us want to vomit continuously. Khan, the father, Kaiser Khan, he comes out and he says that he's not looking for an apology from Donald Trump after Trump basically said that his wife wasn't talking because his wife is Muslim. Kaiser Khan was on with Stay! Here's Matthew coming down with a show! Go!
If you could write the script of his apology, what would you like him to say?
No apology needed. The best apology would be that his supporter repudiate him, be away and pronounce their repudiation.
Pritchard,
we don't need an apology from him. We are beyond those apologies, and we were promised several months ago that he will pivot in the right direction, and he will change, and he will not do all that. But
do you want to hear anything more from him?
No, I don't want to hear anything from him, and I don't want to say anything to him.
Okay, so obviously this is an effective emotional appeal from the Khan family.
Before you can do anything,
of course, which is that the policy they're pushing for is really not a very good policy. And as several outlets have pointed out, Kaiser Khan has spent a lot of his career working on increasing the level of Muslim immigration into the United States. So he really is ticked off at Trump's immigration policy more so than he's ticked off at Trump per se, although Trump is stupid for going after him anyway. Trump made another comment today about Khan, and he responded this way to Kaiser Khan. This is just, again, not smart.
I can say this, if I was president, because his son died 12 years ago, if I were president, his son wouldn't have died because I wouldn't have been in the war. if I was president back then, there would have been no war for Iraq. I can tell you that, because I think it's ridiculous, the whole thing. And to be in that war was, as you know, ever since I've known you, I've been against that war.
Some objects.
Okay, so he says that if he had been president in 2004, Kaiser Khan's son would still be alive, which is a pretty cruel thing to say, because you obviously can't predict those sorts of things. We were at war in Afghanistan as well. Kaiser Khan presumably would have served there too. Trump also went on to say, quote, "It's a very big subject for me. Border security is very big. When you have radical Islamic terrorists probably all over the place, we're allowing them to come in by the thousands and thousands. And I think that's what bothered Mr. Khan more than anything else. And you know, I'm not going to change my views on that." Okay,
when the lead starts to fly,
I don't think this is what
it's
Trump's
wise
saying,
to
but it
take
certainly
cover.
comes off like he's
This
saying
will
that Khan
protect
wants
you from
radical
bullets
Islamic terrorists coming into the country. That's not what Khan obviously wants. It's just, I wish that we had a race between Hillary Clinton and someone who's relatively competent. This does bear some pretty negative ramifications for Republicans more broadly. Here's an example. So there's a rally, Mike Pence, the vice presidential candidate under Donald Trump, and one of the members of the audience gets up and asks Mike Pence about the Khan family. I'm less concerned with Mike Pence's response, because Mike Pence's response is good. I mean, what he says here is exactly right. It's the answer Trump should have given all along. I'm more concerned with the rally-goers. Listen to what the rally-goers do when this lady asks a question.
Mr. Pence is, time and time again, Trump has disrespected our nation's armed forces, and his disrespect for Mr. Khan and his family is just unacceptable.
So the lady is a Gold Star, she's not a Gold Star mother, but she has a son in the military. And she asks the question about Trump's disrespect to the military. Now, you can disagree with the premise of her question. You can say that Trump doesn't disrespect the military. And he doesn't disrespect the military the same way that Hillary does. Hillary tried to ban military uniforms from the White House when she was First Lady. The president under whom she served has slashed and burned the military all the way down to pre-World War II size in terms of the Navy and the size of the ships of the Navy, and down to an Army. That's real disrespect for the military. That's not to say that Trump didn't some pretty ridiculous situations and things that he said about the military, right? He said that John McCain wasn't a war hero because he was captured. He said that he'd forced soldiers to shoot the family members of terrorists in violation of federal law and international law. He said that Iraqi war soldiers, American soldiers, were stealing cash and handing it out to people. And he said some things in the past that are pretty bad, but I don't like that. I don't think the question is well phrased. But when the rally-goers are starting to boo the mother of a soldier, instead of just letting her ask the question and let Pence take care of it, it's a real mistake. And this is what I'm seeing. This is my big problem with the Trump campaign and everything that comes along with it. There's this feeling like everything that Trump does must be defended at all costs. We have to boo anyone who dares say a naysaying word, and I don't appreciate that, even when I disagree with the person who's saying the naysaying word. Okay, all of that said, there's no question that the media are a bunch of hypocrites. Pat Smith, who's the mother of Sean Smith, who was killed in Benghazi, she was on TV last night, and she was talking about the fact the media have been completely ignoring her while paying all sorts of attention to Kaiser Khan, even though Hillary Clinton called her a liar.
I do complain mightily about, well, you're not saying it, but I'm very much against the way I was treated. I was treated like dirt. I don't think that the Khan family was treated that way. But I was treated like dirt. I was called a liar. She's been on TV many times and nodding her head thinking that she is so wonderful and she knows everything and I know nothing, and I was just imagining this. I don't imagine my son getting killed. I don't imagine that at all. But why would she say that to me? And what did she say to the Khan? I don't know. I was told so much bull crap about Benghazi, and most of the things that I heard were lies, absolute outright lies, and that the government never got back to me like they promised. Hillary promised she would get back to me and tell me what happened. I don't know why my son is dead. I want answers, and I want answers about why my son is dead and why she made the decisions that she made. I don't like her decisions. I don't
Just
think
enter the
she'll
lobby.
make a very good.
Sorry to pull you out of sick leave so soon, but we've got a situation. I'm breaking out of Milwaukee Junction factory.
Okay, and so
meet me at the
she says
helipad.
that, and the media are all over
I have
her.
to see
she's
Pritchard
the worst
first.
person. She's
Something's
terrible.
wrong with my
She's
retinal
awful.
enhancement.
It's really
Frank's on the
foolish,
second floor in the tech
for
lab.
the media to play this
Make it
double game
quick.
because it means
People's
that
lives are at
everybody knows
stake.
what liars they are. Another liar, Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. Now he's going nuts, and he says that Donald Trump is totally unhinged. He's totally crazy.
I've known him for a decade. I've never seen him act like this before. It's unhinged. It's not the Donald Trump that I've known for over a decade. I never have seen anything remotely resembling this type of behavior from a guy who I've known and liked and called a friend.
The other thing, I was hearing that a lot yesterday. The other thing I'm wondering if you heard also from people was people were asking me, why can't anyone around him get him to stop?
I think it's gotten a lot worse even over the past month. I'm telling you, we're in uncharted territory now. I mean, there was a time when people could talk to him and say, this is damaging you, this is hurting you, and this is
About time.
What happened?
Get stuck in an air duct on the way over?
Emotional,
Yeah, nice to
though.
see
It's
you
not
too,
like
Francis.
it doesn't feel like it's like a strategy. It feels like it's just emotional.
It's not a strategy.
It's just pure emotion.
Okay, so now we've got Joe Scarborough
beyond strategy.
ripping
Of
Trump
course,
up and down.
it
Okay,
might
Joe
seem.
Scarborough with there's something about Mary Hare. Let me
Right
explain
imaging
something to you.
processors
You
weren't
said
completely in
this
sync.
like 3
But don't
months
worry.
ago.
Your Sentinel
It's
health
against
implant
Trump.
will kick in soon,
I mean,
repairing
but
any
will they
damage
say
that
this time
might
it's all over?
cause.
I'm just saying.
Your retinal
seriously,
display should be
the
fine.
jackasses that
Its
have been doing
recognition
this for 9
software
months
won't
should
be
just
picking up
stop
hostiles yet,
embarrassing themselves.
but you should be
It's
seeing
getting
radar
really
and
old.
targeting
What's insulting to me is
biomedical
you can't
data
state
tape if you're in pain.
politically obvious things.
Done here?
Right?
Because Sarah is
Without people saying, oh, you're the
I
tank
know.
for Trump. Or,
Radicals
you're
have
supporting
broken
Trump.
into
Oh,
our
no,
manufacturing
no,
plant and taken
we just
hostages.
can actually look at the Earth and see that the sun goes down and that it's actually not flat. But there have been a lot of flat Earthers
you got a
out there for
problem
9
with me,
months
Pritchard.
right now.
Why don't you just say it and get it over
defending
with?
Trump like
Why
3
no,
months ago.
Jensen?
So
I don't
the
have a
media
problem
played this
with
double
you.
game.
If
Notice
anything,
that they're
I
dumping
blame
all of their
myself.
crap on
The
Trump
mighty
now, right? They
Pritchard
waited
blaming
until he was the
himself.
nominee, and then they dumped
gotta be
everything
at
on him.
first.
Which
I'm
is
the one
perfectly
who told
predictable.
Sarah
predicting
we
it
needed a
several
physical security
months
team
ago.
to
I'll tell you
protect
what
us.
they're completely
If he'd
ignoring,
read my
however, and that
report
is
closely
Hillary
enough.
continuing to
Wait a
lie.
second.
So Hillary over the weekend
Are you
lied
saying
about her
it was
emails,
your idea
and then
to hire
Hillary's
me?
spokesperson
Not
was
you,
on TV
Jensen.
last night
I
lying
wanted
about her lying
Dynacore,
about her
Sharp
emails.
Edge, or Bell Tower.
What she attempted
All the
to
top private
indicate in her
security
response
contractors
was
were on
that
my list.
Director Comey
But
was very
Sarah
clear
wanted somebody
when he was
in-house.
asked in the hearing before
And
Congress
so
last
did
month
Dr. Reed.
About the nature of the answers that she
I
gave
suggested
in
we
her
make it
interview
out
to
of
the
this.
Justice Department.
Why, Jensen?
And
It's
Director
no
Comey
secret
in
how
response was quite clear
close
that he had
the
no
two
reason to
were.
believe that anything
And
she
let's
ever
face it,
said to the
you'd just
Justice
been fired
Department
for
was at all
SWAT for that
untruthful.
massacre in
And
Mexican
what she was
town.
indicating in that interview
No
to Chris
one was
Wallace
allowed to
was that
hire
what she
you.
said
You
to
really
those
have to stop
Justice
getting
Department
news from those
interviewers
Picus
was
balls,
entirely
Francis.
consistent with what she has said
They only confuse
to the
you.
public
The
for the
point
last
is,
several
if
months
Sarah
in
had
the many
listened to
questions
me,
that we've
we
answered
wouldn't
on
be
this
having this
issue.
conversation.
They're liars, they're liars,
But
they're
Megan,
liars. The media
God
won't
love
cover
her,
that. The media won't
always
cover
did
all of
have
Donald Trump's
Sarah's
various
ear.
foibles.
Sarah said
Granted,
there's
those
gonna be hearing
foibles are more
report
fun
about
than covering Hillary Clinton. But it
violence
doesn't
in the
change the fact that
workplace if
Hillary
you keep
Clinton
this
is
up.
just as terrible as Trump in
You
every
really feel
way.
like continuing?
And in most
Point
ways, she's worse. Okay, time for things I like, things I hate, and then the corrections, which is a new addition to the program. And it's a very dangerous game to play when you say that you're going to add corrections to the program, because then everyone who has a correction from 45 episodes ago emails you. This is what I've found. So we can begin with things I like. We're doing post-apocalyptic literature to prepare you for the end of the world. Alas, Babylon is today's post-apocalyptic literature. Pat Frank, this book is kind of a classic of the genre.
Adam, how close are you to the helipad?
Hits,
Almost
how do
there.
people survive
Good.
afterward?
Because SWAT's about to turn this into a PR nightmare.
Particularly good, but
Meet me in the
book
chopper.
is very good.
I'll brief you as
I
we
read
go.
it several years ago, and I just remember enjoying it as much as you can enjoy a book about the end of the world. So, Alas, Babylon, Pat Frank, check it out at Amazon.com. Okay, time for some things that I hate. So, Apple has decided that it's time to save the world. How are they going to save the world? Not by giving tons of money to charity, not by hiring more people. No, they're going to save the world by getting rid of the gun emoji and instead replacing it with a water pistol emoji. Here's what the new emoji will look like. Right, so they had the pistol emoji, which is kind of cool, and now they've replaced that with the water gun emoji, which is just dorky. Okay, how are you supposed to express that you want to commit suicide over this election on Twitter if you have to use a water gun emoji? If you water gun your own head, presumably you just get wet. So this whole thing is stupid. How many lives will this save? None. Well, what will this change? Absolutely nothing. But it makes all the lefties over at Apple feel really good about themselves, because from now on, they won't have to look at those evil, terrible pictures of cartoon guns and feel as though they're making the world a worse place. Now they can look at happy green water guns and feel like they're making the world a better place. Okay, other things that I hate today. The media are losing their mind. mind over Corin Gates. Okay, Corin Gates is this black woman who was shot by the cops, and they're making a big deal out of her being shot. So, Think Progress's headline. And you can see her. She's a good-looking gal. She's got braces on, it looks like here, and her kid's in the background. She has a little kid, and she's got a couple tattoos, and it says, police fatally shoot woman holding 5-year-old boy in her lap. So if you read that headline, you would assume that police fatally shot a woman holding a 5-year-old boy in her lap. Would you not? Because that's the headline. Here's what actually happened. Okay, so they went to her house. They went to her house to issue an arrest warrant for failing to appear in court after a traffic violation in March. No one responded to 10 minutes of door knocking, even though they could hear several people inside. Officers went to the landlord. They obtained a key to the apartment, and they found her sitting on the floor. And her 5-year-old son was wrapped in one of her arms. What was in her other arm? A shotgun. That's right. She was carrying a shotgun in her other hand, waiting for the cops to enter. Around 3 p.m., after several hours of negotiation, police say Gaines raised the gun at officers and told them she would kill them if they did not leave, at which point the officers shot her. So they fired 1 round at her. She fired several rounds back at us. We fired again at her, striking and killing her. Tragically, in this circumstance, the child that was also in the dwelling was struck by a round. The man being sought fled the home. There's a man there also who's being sought. He fled the home with a 1-year-old child who was later taken into